Hello, everyone. Weber. I am a senior lecturer at UNC Wilmington. I've been teaching there since 2010 as a student mentor. In 2012, I became adjunct faculty, and in 2014, I was pretty much full-time as a part-time faculty. And then 2017, full-time faculty at UNCW, and I'm working my way from lecturer to senior lecturer to associate professor. So that's my goal. And I've been teaching health and fitness education to K through 12 licensure students, as well as a lifetime fitness degree path for people that want to be personal trainers, group fitness instructors, and go in the wellness profession. So today I'd like to start with a video about physical education, which is probably the most overlooked educational aspect of our national curriculum, right? So we have a health and obesity epidemic, and it is not combated with a physical and health education that is suitable for making the changes needed in the 21st century. We have been getting fatter, sicker for longer, and it is evident that our physical education in the past 30 years has done absolutely nothing to combat this epidemic. So we need a new approach to physical education, but we also have to understand where physical education comes from, why it's important, and why am I talking about it today. So physical education, we're going to talk about the history of it first, number one. First of all, physical education came over from doctors in Germany to America, and they used a specialized curriculum called gymnastics to teach individuals in schools how to be physically fit. Now, our method or reasoning behind getting students fit was for war purposes. So generally speaking, people were in the mindset of preparing for war, physically ready for war. So our student population in the United States early on had to get fit for the purpose of military. And so if you look at the Roman era, the Greek era, the reason why physical activity was so important was to win battles, to win wars, to show dominance, and to prevail, and to be survival of the fittest. So we know that physical activity is the most important thing a human can do. It is the most potent medical intervention for man, better than any medications that we can take in a pill. If exercise could be bottled up, it would be, people wouldn't work out. So what I'm going to talk about today, again, like I said, we're going to talk about the history, where physical education comes from. It started in the late 18th century, where we took gymnastics approach to teaching physical education in the school systems. It was actually taught by doctors, so it wasn't taught by teachers. So doctors were the first ones to teach physical education. I think that's super important because you're talking about the brightest minds were the ones that were teaching physical activity. Think about the root word of physical education, physical, physics. So the knowledge of momentum, force, gravity, strength, all these things that we take for granted, we have in physical education. We teach it in K through 12. Now, speaking, elementary students are only going to get once a week, if that, of PE in their school days. Some schools will have 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, but generally speaking, 1 day a week you might see a phys ed teacher. Middle school, you might see a phys ed teacher for half the year, and then you might see a health teacher for half the year, and that might be only 1 year during middle school. And then in senior or in high school, you might only get PE once a week, and you might take a weightlifting class as a senior. Generally speaking, the history of PE came about, like I said, with doctors. They taught gymnastics to start. It was a lot of calisthenics, body weight pull-ups, climbing, crawling, a lot of body weight movement skills that I think are lost. So generally speaking, the past involved lots of military-esque types of movements like pull-ups, push-ups, jumping jacks, pretty much your standard jumping, jump rope, that type of routine, and running. So there wasn't a lot of weight machines, there wasn't a lot of equipment used. except for Indian clubs. Indian clubs were one of the early weight equipments used, and then dumbbells came about and barbells, and then now we have things like medicine balls and kettlebells. So the history evolved from the late 1800s into the early 1900s as a way to get people ready for war. And then once war wasn't really no longer an issue in the 80s and 90s, you notice that students kind of got even worse. In the last 10 to 20 years, we've gotten the fattest we've ever been. So the history speaks for itself. Physical education has done nothing for our obesity epidemic. So there needs to be changes. We need to have 5 days a week of PE for all of our students, and it has to be based on the national standards. A lot of, and we'll talk about number 2, standards is next. So the standards of PE are created by the Society of Health and Physical Educators, or SHAPE. So you have a national SHAPE society, and then you have state SHAPE societies. And what we do is we make sure that our teachers are teaching standardized physical and health education. So we're using the objectives and outcomes created by people that have been in the field for 10, 20, 30 years. So we all come to agreement on what the students should learn. The standards are movement outcomes, social outcomes, and cognitive outcomes, and as well as fitness outcomes. So those would be the 4 main standard outcomes that we're examining, and we have to make sure that our teachers are abiding by these standards. I would say that more than 50 to 60% teachers are not abiding by these standards. I think most teachers end up creating their own curriculum, their own standards, and they make things up as they go along. I think the best teachers understand pedagogy the best, so they follow the standards. They're the ones at the state conferences, national conferences. They're the ones that get their master's degree, go on, get their doctorate's degree. And then you might have some teachers that don't really evolve, and I'm not putting anything against them, but they might not increase or improve their curriculum or their standards, or they might not follow the standards from day one, and so 20 years down the line, they're playing dodgeball every day. They're playing kickball every day. They're doing things that students shouldn't be doing in the classroom, right? Sitting around, walking the track when they get in, allowing students to be late or not dress out, that type of thing. So we have many issues when it comes to the standards because a lot of our teachers are not following them. Number 3, what are the objectives in PE? So the main objectives are to increase motor, locomotor, and object control skills. So locomotor skills like jumping, hopping, skipping, leaping, sliding, running, galloping. And then object control skills are things like swinging the bat, dribbling the ball, kicking the ball, underhand throwing, overhand throwing, underhand paddle racket, also swinging a bat, like I said, hockey stick movements, and then also dribbling a soccer ball and dribbling a basketball. So these are our object control skills. We also have things like manipulative and non-manipulative skills. So manipulative skills are anything that's grasping an object. So like a hula hoop, or a scarf, or a flag, or a jersey, or a noodle. That would be a manipulative skill. A non-manipulative skill would be something like bending, twisting, curling the body. It could be balancing, so anything that has nothing to do with using equipment. So that would be a non-manipulative skill. So the objectives in PE are to not only teach motor skills like locomotor and object control skills, but also to teach fitness components. So the health-related fitness components and the skill-related fitness components. And the health-related fitness components are things like strength, muscular endurance. We have in there flexibility, body composition, and cardiovascular endurance. Then we have our skill-related health components of fitness, which are going to be things like balance, power, speed, reaction time, agility, and then also coordination. So these skills are also going to be met in physical education. Other objectives are going to be social objectives. So Are they able to utilize the equipment appropriately? Are they able to communicate effectively? Are they listening? Are they following directions? Are they cooperating with others? Are they able to perform group tasks without getting into arguments? Are they able to solve problems? Are they able to solve dynamic social situations when they occur? Our next objective would be cognitive objectives. Are they able to remember the rules? Are they able to tell us the cues of the skill? Like, are they able to tell us what they're learning with verbal or nonverbal cues? So if they're able to talk, are they able to say what they learned? If they're nonverbal, can they circle a picture of what they learned? Can they point to the right thing? These are all cognitive aspects or objectives. Then we have our curriculum in physical education. The curriculum in elementary school is going to be a skill theme approach, so a progressive approach, so learning basic, easy skills and then slowly learning more advanced skills with extensions involved. So when we teach physical education, we teach task. Each task has a description and we want to demonstrate the task. We want to give them different angles of the task. We want to use our students as demonstrators of the task. We want to give extensions of the task. We want to say, what can we do after we've completed the first part of the task? What can we do next? So what are some things we can make it harder? Okay, what are some things we can make it easier for people with disabilities? So if you have somebody that utilizes a wheelchair, what are going to be the modifications or adaptations you'll make for them? So that is also going to be important. In the middle school, you're going to be looking at a sport approach. So you're going to be learning more sport skills, trying to get students ready to play collaboratively in group games and sports and teams. And then in high school, you kind of get more into fitness. That's the curriculum instruction. There's different types. There's cooperative instruction. There's also submissive instruction. So what one you choose is the style that will best demonstrate how you are as an effective leader. And then we also have assessment involved, which is making sure we are looking at their BMI, we're looking at how many push-ups they can perform, or if they're able to socially get involved or cognitively get involved, so we're going to assess them at the onset of physical education. So this is just a quick overview, 1 through 6, of an introduction to physical education. I'm going to go more in depth in part 2, physical education, and we'll go more in depth in curriculum instruction and assessment. I appreciate it. Thanks.